This is Rating Descending,
where we watch IMDb's Worst 250 so you don't have to.
My name is Abigail Ward.
And I'm Michelle St. Clair.
And tonight we watched The Shaggy Dog. A man tries to live a normal life despite the fact that he sometimes turns into a sheepdog. Let's watch. It's so tough.
Immediate shout out to longtime fan Luke Anton, who sent us an actual, I've been begging for a chart of our rankings versus the IMDb rankings, and he actually did it, and oh boy, it makes my little statistics nerd heart so happy to see it.
Excellent. It's excellent. And you can really see just how erratic our ratings are, obviously, in comparison to IMDb's.
Oh, yeah.
It's it's interesting to study. And thank you, Luke, because that was literally something I wanted to do, but knew that I was too lazy to do right now.
All I wanted when I started this podcast was for someone to turn it into statistics, and that just makes me happy. One of the things that interested me the most, the biggest difference between episodes, was Paranormal Activity 4, we each gave it a 1, and then immediately after one was Raw 1, where we gave it our highest scores of 7 and 7.5.
Raw 1's so good.
Also notable, we never gave Yogi Bear a score, which is why there's a gap on the chart around Yogi Bear. So I, on the record, this is a podcast exclusive, want to say a 3.6.
Same.
Wasn't great.
Thank you for that. I still want to make a chart tracking the actors that are repeating through the films. We've noticed a couple of actors coming in 2 or 3 times, and I really just want to get a graph in and see who's appearing the most in these terrible films. Who's the common denominator?
But we'll put that up on our Twitter at RateDescendPod.
We will, so look out for it.
Yeah. It's a fucking good chart.
Baby, lockdown fucking 5.0.
Yeah, I mean, I joked last time, that season 4 was the weird reboot we didn't expect, where they changed some of the lead characters. Season 5 is when the reboot, I guess, takes off a little bit.
I still remember you said at the beginning of this year, you were like, 2021 is just 2020 season 2. And I was like, oh.
It is.
That
it has
deep.
been. I think I said that soon after the Capitol riots.
Yes.
Where I was we're not done.
No, we'll never be done.
I knew we weren't, but that really anchored it in quite early.
Are you glad, though, that we're kind of just launching into a little snap lockdown? Because you've been worked silly recently. We've been ships passing in the night with one another. We barely see each other in the house because you're working all the fucking time, and I'm usually at home during the day and then I go out at night.
I'm working 16 to 18 hours in the day, which I might hear, listener, is that you saying, hey, that sounds like almost all waking hours? To which I would say, yes. Yes, it is, isn't it?
You're shaking. Tears are rolling out of your eyes.
I have 4 jobs, one of which is 12 hours a day, including travel time.
Fucking hell.
Yeah.
And you've also been working on projects on the side. But because of lockdown, you got a day off.
I got one day off.
Nice. Well, how did you spend it?
I played some video games in the morning. I then watched some of Dimension 20 and just fucked around with DVD covers and Photoshop.
Such a nerd, Michelle. You're insane.
and then my girlfriend and I watched Buffy. We're finally up to the last season. Hell yeah.
Nerdy gay shit all around. That's what you did yesterday.
Yeah, that's have you met me? But I took
of Michelle.
I took a lot of shit last time in the Little Man episode of being like, oh yeah, I'm overworking a lot, but I feel pretty good. I take it all back. I am become tired. I am doing nothing but working. If I die, I want to note it on my tombstone. It is because I am a freelancer.
She died for her craft.
The fault lies with every legislator who blocked extra workers' rights. It will be your fault. I am not good, but I'm feeling particularly good. The only reason I'm feeling good today is because yesterday...
and you spent it doing nerdy gay shit.
Well, we had played Dungeons and Dragons the night before.
Extra
as well.
Nerdy.
Yeah.
Not as gay, but...
Hey, it was
nerdy
that
and gay,
group.
The Venn diagram overlaps massively.
I'm pretty sure...
The queer community and the nerdy community are really just merging as one at this point.
Much to the incredibly public frustration of the old nerd stereotype of the angry toxic man who are unaware that the reason that they are unpopular is not because they like superhero comics and video games, but it is because they are profoundly unpleasant people. We're gonna gay your shit.
Yeah, we are. It's gonna be covered in fucking glitter and rainbows,
Hell
baby.
yeah. If there's
Those men have now just been replaced by really awkward, like, bi girls.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Nice.
That's good shit.
Up top. Give me some skin. Give me some. Too slow. Too slow. You lost out.
But I already took off all my skin.
Oh my god.
Just like you asked for.
Blood everywhere. Actually, I'll take it. I'd like that, actually. Thank you so much.
Crispy.
And now you see the palm of my hand looks extra strong now. You see the skin like grows in and replaces it. It's a double layer, baby. All the better for fapping.
What the fuck?
I've got to throw something in masculine here to at least help that demographic of our listeners.
We're femming it up too much.
Yeah, man. You know when you're just fapping, just coming all the time?
I can't relate. I'm a woman.
Yeah, right on. I had a lovely engagement trip with Claude.
Oh, yeah.
Since the last episode, and it was a really nice time to get away from the city. I'm actually really glad we did it. And I got this cold sore, and it's really just demolished me. And like I've never had a cold sore before, and it gives you a fever, it gives you shakes, it gives you chills. I basically had a fever for like 4 nights in a row. So it's just that's been nice. Open wounds in the mouth is a really nice way to top off an excellent trip away.
That's great.
Yeah. You jealous?
No, not at all.
No?
No. I stayed home and did gay nerdy shit.
Wow. And I lean over and I get all the saliva in my infected mouth and I spit it into your drink.
Oh, man.
Drink it. Hey, I had to eat your skin, so you gotta drink up.
Okay. It's not clean.
More of them. Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah. Listeners, this is what we call laughing. And laughing is not what we did tonight when we watched the 2006 film The Shaggy Dog. Just keep going. It's actually really soothing for me if you do that while I chat.
Yeah, we watched The Shaggy Dog.
Oh boy, I knew nothing about it before I started watching it, and I was really disappointed and upset when Tim Allen appeared.
Yeah, I mean, I'm always disappointed and upset when Tim Allen appears. But as someone who, as a kid, watched part of me wants to maintain, like, oh, I'm cool. I watched hip movies when I was younger. And there are movies that I'm like, that's probably hip to watch when I was 10 or whatever. But, like, man, I bet I got my love of movies from watching shitty Disney Channel original movies. Like, an absolute metric ton of shitty made-for-children movies.
The Tim Allen movies are almost their own genre of family movies. You kind of know exactly what you're going to get, and it's usually going to disappoint you. Regardless.
What are the other Tim Allen movies that fit in this apart from the Santa Claus?
So there's Jumanji. Not Jumanji. Jungle to Jungle.
I never saw Jungle to Jungle.
Which is it's not like he turns into something. He just goes from one jungle
to another jungle?
It's not like he turns into something. A Tim Allen comedy is usually about a dad trying to be a better dad.
Well, that's because it's Tim Allen's a bad dad.
We don't know that, but probably.
I think given that he keeps repeatedly getting cast as a bad dad.
He found a niche. Respect, props. But Jungle to Jungle was about this, like, it was my favorite movie as a kid. He's a bad dad because he has a son in the jungle that he has to take care of.
What?
And so he brings the jungle boy back to New York.
The concrete jungle.
He raises him in the concrete jungle, and it's about him being a good dad.
No, I've seen this. This is George of the Jungle. Brendan Fraser's the jungle boy, right? Yeah.
Little jungle boy.
little tiny jungle boy.
I was raised by jungle children. Yeah, I think Tim Allen has a very specific brand of movie, and that's when it started, I was like, oh, it is actually going to be worse than I thought it would be.
For me, this just made me think of every movie that, like, of that specific, like, Disney has been around for so long as a studio, but if I'm correct, it wasn't actually considered one of the majors until relatively recently compared to the other majors. Like, compared to Paramount and Warner Brothers and stuff, it was actually just an animation studio that was ramping up video production until very suddenly it owned everything. It went from, like, not a major to 50% of the industry in a very short period. And, like, this, I feel, was the transitional era where they weren't just doing animation nor were they just... Disney produced this, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. They weren't just doing animation, but they also weren't just palming off things to, like, Touchstone. Like, they were actually producing their own family things. And there's, like, such a like, it gives me the same vibe as, like, Cats and Dogs, you know, that sort of, like, family.
Cats and Dogs, though, that's on a whole nother level to anything.
I feel like all of them have the same score of, like, twiddly violins and stuff.
Henry, where's your father?
I'm coming. Flips out a skateboard. Mom. You know, maybe there'd be a voiceover. That's me in my life.
Guess you're wondering how I got here.
I'm late for school. Yeah.
That's my sister.
Yeah, this struck me as like very emblematic of that era, which is why as soon as I saw it, I was like, oh, I don't know if I've ever seen this movie, but I've seen this movie before.
Yeah.
Who's the Beethoven? Beethoven's something? The movie about the giant dog.
Yeah, I haven't seen it.
He's
but
very
I know what
big
you're referring to.
and he's very poorly behaved. And there was like 12 of them or something.
Dog movies, man.
Yeah, I guess I'm thinking of other dog movies.
I'm thinking of other Tim Allen movies. I found out tonight that Claude is a big Tim Allen fan, and it.
Oh.
I think.
So
ironically,
you're still engaged, right?
He was like, nah, Tim Allen has good energy. He was looking up Claude did a bit of research. Actually, I'll get into that later because Claude did some research into Tim Allen for me. So I'll get to that later in the podcast.
No, he gives me the energy of like voted for Bush and then Biden and still complains about the woke youth.
He definitely voted for Trump in 2016. That is a fact. Yeah.
Okay, because I was going to say he gives me
wrong.
Big Republican, but I was like,
Republican. He's a
I
conservative.
bet it's going to be, he's just like that. Okay, great. I actually called it first.
Claude likes him ironically. Let me just say that as an absolute. I need to put that down here on the table.
Okay, but saying that now feels like a backtrack.
He likes him ironic. It's a joke. It's a joke to like Tim Allen. Let me get into the overview. This movie was made in 2006. It has 4.4 stars on IMDb. It was directed by a guy called Brian Robbins, who did Varsity Blues and a handful of other meh films that were kind of like super American and family oriented between like the late 90s and early 2000s. And it was written by like 5 fucking people. So you know it's a bad script.
Yeah.
You shouldn't. Too many cooks. Always too many cooks.
I bet none of them talk to each other.
Yeah. The overview. Dave is a district attorney who is too involved in his job to be a good father and husband. He is prosecuting the teacher and activist Justin Forrester for firebombing the pharmaceutical corporation Grant and Strickland. Geneticists working for this company, led by Dr. Kozak, steal a 300-year-old dog named Ki Yang Po. The scientists find the dog's genetic sequence can alter the cells and DNA of anybody. You following? You here with me?
It's not a necessary part of this premise. This premise didn't need that. Go on.
Carly, Dave's activist daughter, steals Ki Yang Po from the geneticists and brings the dog, who she now calls Shaggy, home. Dave is bitten on the hand by Shaggy and slowly realizes that he uncontrollably can transform into a sheepdog when excited by dog activities. I'm doing my best.
You're not wrong.
He returns to human form by sleeping, but Dave's human absence from his family further strains his relationships. Seeking answers to his transformation, Dave heads to Grant and Strickland. Hidden in the laboratory, Dave witnesses Dr. Kozak trying to usurp control of the company. After viewing security cameras, Kozak realizes that Dave can transform into the dog. When Dave returns home, still in his canine form, he uses Scrabble letters to reveal his identity to his kids. She spells out, "I am dad," and they're like, "Daddy?"
Which is his second attempt to do so.
He is quickly tased by Kozak's minions, and his kids attempt to save him but end up picking the real dog instead, accidentally. Dave is taken to the laboratory to be euthanized, but Dave bites Kozak. Dave returns to human form and escapes with all of the other animals to get to the courthouse. In the courtroom, David angers Kozak. Dave grabs the bailiff's baton and tells Kozak to fetch, triggering a partial transformation and thus implicating Kozak of unethical doings. Dave wins. The mutant animals enter protective custody, and Dave makes amends with his family. I tried. I tried.
You did it.
What a fucked film. I have to say, this is like the longest overview I might have and the worst, because it's just insane to put this all into a cohesive story.
Easily the most buck wild plot of the whole thing.
Absolute nonsense.
So as far as I understand, this is not the first time that there is a Shaggy Dog movie.
Yeah, so this was based on a 1959 film called The Shaggy Dog. It had Fred McMurray.
Yeah.
And it was a slightly different
the Tim
plot.
Allen of the 50s.
Well, kind of. They look very similar. Do you remember Fred McMurray in The Apartment? He plays like the boss.
No,
yeah.
yeah.
He has such a distinctive face with his little like butt chin. He always just looks so angry. But yeah, the plot is slightly different though, and I actually didn't read the full synopsis, but it seems like the 1959 film was far more charming and delightful than this one.
Now, hang on. You're telling me that the 1959 one probably didn't, as a premise, include a 300-year-old Tibetan shaggy dog and scientists trying to extract the elixir of infinite life from said dog, and that's how Tim Allen gets bitten and turns into a dog. By the way, those two things completely disconnected.
Yeah.
It's actually not needed for the dog to be immortal.
It doesn't have to be 300 years old. I think at one point they're like, wow, think of the things he's seen. It's just a shot of the dog looking at them. It's ridiculous.
Well, it's just, why? They were like, him turning other people into weredogs, essentially, is not at all. They were like, this is a side effect of the fact that you can grant immortality. That's not even the premise of the movie.
This dog just has super special powers. It's immortal. It can surf, apparently, at the end of the film.
Well, we gotta save the surfer. Pace ourselves.
He can also, he understands humans, and he's a very smart dog, and he also prays in the monastery at the beginning.
That's right.
Of the film when he's in Tibet.
He's a very smart, capable dog.
He's a very smart little dog. What was his name again? It was Ki Yang Po.
Yeah.
That's the real name of the dog.
And they just try and call him Shaggy.
I have to say, I was really blown away by the performances in this film.
Oh, yes.
Because Tim Allen, look, he is like a really schlocky actor.
Yeah.
But he can just give you a really solid performance, you know? He's just a really, there isn't times where I'm like, oh, that was badly performed. I just feel like he's easy to watch. He is. He delivers things well.
I think he's one of those actors who strikes me, I don't know, he's never seemed to me like someone who ever wanted to be an actor. You know, he fell into it. Well, I don't know whether he was a comedian first or just got it from a recommendation or whatever. But I can't see Tim Allen in acting school because of his love of performing.
I mean, apparently when he was in university, again, shout out to Claude for basically going on a bunch of Quora threads and looking up, is Tim Allen a good guy? Because he had
No.
He was basically
no.
I know he's a conservative and Republican, but that aside, it seems like he'd just be a really polite person to chat to. And he looked it up. All the answers were really great guy, really kind, really great to chat to, really sweet. He's just apparently really nice in real life. And then someone was like, I knew him at university and he was incredibly talented. We all knew he'd be famous. And I was just like, fuck.
Okay.
Remember how good Galaxy Quest is?
Yes.
And he's just a fantastic lead in it.
He is
really
great in Guardian Quest.
Yeah.
Jesus. He is great in Galaxy Quest. That's true. That is a fantastic movie.
Marvel's rotting your brain, Michelle. They're infiltrating.
Yeah. I just...
Yeah.
It's hard to hear, oh, he's a great guy, really respectful and nice, post going, yeah, he loves Trump. I'm
I understand.
I don't think he is nice.
I feel like... I feel like his morals are probably not great, but apparently he's great to chat to.
If you're a straight white guy.
Yeah, and Claude was just like, all of these things are guys. He was like, let me find a woman saying that he's nice to chat to. And he was like, nice, one woman. Claudia Greenway says he's great to chat to.
Sure.
Claude's hot take, Tim Allen, really great guy. Really stellar dude.
My take, I disagree.
He's like definitely like a huge patriot. I think I've seen a bunch of photos of him just randomly with the army and the navy, just being like, yeah, guys, troops. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Also, Robert Downey Jr. was in this as Kozak.
Oh, yes.
Giving it like 20% of his all.
I disagree. I feel like Robert Downey Jr. was doing the best and trying the hardest in this movie.
There's literally this one bit, it's cemented in my brain now, where Ki Yang Po escapes from the laboratory for the first time when he's about to go off and find Dave and bite him. And he like picks up this like syringe of his own blood.
That's right. Yeah. That's
and then the woman, the geneticist is like, watch out. That thing's viral. And she says it exactly like that. And then it cuts to Robert Downey Jr. standing there and he goes, bah! That's it. That's his reaction. And the dog runs out.
But he's playing like a stuffy character, right? Who's like very, I don't know how to describe it, very theatrical, but very like you know, he is doing like stuffy Tony Stark. That is Robert Downey Jr. But at the end of the movie, where he does get like bit and starts turning into a dog.
It's a fun performance.
He's doing a better dog than Tim Allen is.
This is true.
More enjoyable. This should have starred Robert Downey Jr., but this was during Robert Downey Jr.'s I need to repent for my drug abuse and not being cool to women phase.
It's fucked that you have to repent for drug abuse. Like, why do we fucking demonize people for using drugs? Like,
I agree, but I also
stigma.
I also think with Robert Downey Jr. it was more associated with the behavior he did whilst on drugs as opposed to the drug use itself.
I can understand that. If you've like, I know he was literally like jailed for a while, wasn't he?
Yeah. This was his in between pre-Marvel, post Brat Pack.
Fucking hate people like. I do get really sensitive when I hear about like actors and celebrities basically just getting completely, I don't know, like dismissed because they have addiction issues.
Lindsay Lohan.
Fucking Lindsay Lohan.
She's
100%.
She's finally getting a comeback and she deserves it. She's a good actress.
100%. I agree. I was actually looking her up the other day. It's so funny that you bring her up because everything in her thing has basically been like, oh, Lindsay Lohan, she got like arrested for possession, went to rehab, and we're all like, she's a bad person. No.
Yeah.
Not at all. She has addictions like most people, and she just happens to be a celebrity. It's like fucking Amy Winehouse, literally just getting her reputation torn apart because she was addicted. Like,
let's be honest, we've all met at least one, definitely more than one, really smug guy who will shame someone like Lindsay Lohan for drug use, sneer at an area with a lot of homeless for being filled with junkies, and then go and do a bunch of coke. I'm like, this behavior is the same.
Yeah, 100%.
You're not above these people.
Yeah. Also, someone pointed out, this is like a total tangent, but someone pointed out that the charges for possession of coke are far lower than the charges of possession of meth, but they're literally the same. They're such similar drugs. It's literally just that coke is for the elites and meth is for the lower classes, for the poor, and they get jailed longer for it because they can't afford something like coke.
Yeah,
that's fucked.
It is.
That fucks me up.
But in the Shaggy Dog,
no, we're going political.
in the Shaggy Dog, this movie has too much going on for us to veer off course. There's way too much to talk about.
Also, it had Charlotte from Sex and the City playing his wife. As per, the really subpar looking man has an incredibly attractive wife that really loves him.
She's in like 30 movies as the wife whilst she gives 5% of a good performance.
Yeah.
She's also in Shark Boy and Lava Girl as the same character.
Oh, is she?
Yeah, which means we're going to see her again later.
Also, this must be, it's obviously her second appearance in this list, by the way, considering Sex and the City 2.
Oh, yeah.
So that's something
So we know she's on here at least 3 times. Yeah. And she's really deserved it.
She's not great.
She's nothing in this.
Yeah.
She is a vacuous
She's an empty
space
vessel
where a personality should be.
The girl that plays his daughter, Carly, wildest performance in the movie for me. Being like, Daddy, is it you? Stop, Dad. I'm going to the demonstration.
If I ran into a room and I saw my dog and then a bunch of... I wouldn't even recognize I am Dad. I would just see... It wasn't even
You've made a mess.
It wasn't even soloed.
Yeah.
It was like there was lots of random letters around it. I wouldn't... And I certainly wouldn't then go, oh, it is my dad. I would go, that's so weird.
I'd probably be
Clean
like,
up.
oh, I bet my little brother is playing a prank on me.
Well, she was in the same room with the...
Can't trust him.
Well, but the little brother was Spencer Breslin.
Yeah. Abigail Breslin's little brother.
Yeah.
His character has a whole arc where he is meant to be a football player, or rather his dad wants him to do better at maths so he can play football, but you find out that he wants to be in the theater.
It's very convoluted. His dad isn't like, you have to be a footballer because it's good to be a footballer. His dad thinks he likes football and wants him to do good at math so that he can play football, which is a weird choice from a screenwriting perspective.
It is wild. I think she's like, oh, he's flunking math. And he's like, well, he can't play football. I was like, wow, this is so American.
Yeah, it is. And it's like, I understand the storyline of like, a kid wants to play football, but they're doing badly at school. This added like too many layers of like, he is intentionally flunking math because he doesn't actually want to play football. He wants to be in the school play, but his dad isn't forcing him to play football. His dad thinks that he wants to play football and wants to help him feel good about himself.
Yeah. It's a terrible storyline.
So complicated.
And another terrible performance from the kid. I was just stunned by how bad the dialogue in this film was.
Yeah.
It was fucking awful.
It was. Well, I mean, it's also like, I have a particular pet peeve with movies, and this is not to say I didn't smile and laugh the whole time, with movies that are like about familial relationships, and trying to resolve them and stuff, written by people who clearly have a poor relationship with their own family because they've no understanding of how to resolve it. Because they don't realize how brutal some of the things happening are. Like when the wife says to him, can you even say that you love me anymore? And he goes, I love you, in the least convincing way. And I was like, fucking divorce immediately.
Just went, that doesn't count. The whole marriage was making me so sad. That woman was getting mistreated from the get-go.
He couldn't say to his wife with a straight face, I love you.
Yeah.
That's so intense.
It's awful. And there's that bit where he sets up their anniversary dinner, but he turns into Shaggy, so he can't come. So he stands at the window and he watches his wife sitting there alone, getting stood up on her anniversary dinner with her husband with flowers in his mouth. And it made me genuinely sad. I was like, can you imagine being married to someone for like, 16 years, 17 years, and they stand you up on your anniversary dinner? Like, I know in the movie they're portraying he has a valid reason, but that I would be like, I'd call my husband and be like, we're divorcing.
Yeah.
Like, you stood me up. You are unreliable.
And then the little girl is crying on the staircase because she's like, my parents are going to get our parents are going to get divorced. And then he's there as the dog trying to be like, no, we're not.
It's just grim.
Actually, that brings me to one of my biggest gripes about the movie that I want to mention. The movie very early on is like, okay, he turns into a dog. It takes way too long to get to that premise, actually. He turns into the dog, and immediately
the first act was insane. I was like, when is the movie beginning, and what is it?
Completely.
There was so much happening in that first act, and when he finally turned into the dog, I was like, okay, I think I get what's going on now.
He starts turning into the dog, and you realize like, oh, this is going to be a movie in which Tim Allen is just a voiceover for 90 minutes.
Yeah.
And like, I know he needs, because you have Tim Allen, he needs to do the voiceover, but I hated how it would be like the dog would be gazing into the eyes of his son, and the son would be like, oh, I'm sorry, Dad. And then you would hear the voiceover while you just see a shot of the dog sitting there going, I love you, son, so much. I really want to support you doing this play. And I'm like, he can't hear you. He can't hear you. Stop thinking he can hear you. It's nothing. It just bothered me so much.
It took him ages to realize he was a dog, and it really fucking threw me out. I hate it when, like, you, the audience, are way ahead of the protagonist, so you're just waiting for them to catch up to you, and it kind of gets boring after a while. Like, he turns into the dog, we know he's the dog, and he goes through a series of things and chases until he realizes he is now a dog, and he's like, I must be dreaming. You, as the audience, like, get through these steps. We know he's not dreaming. We know he's a dog. I want it now.
I think the thing is, like, the idea of your dog is more intelligent than you think it is, but you guys can't speak the same language. Like, we already know that's a good premise. There's tons of movies with that premise. Or there's guy turns into a dog and has to deal with dog problems. That's fucking fantastic. Guy turns into a dog and continues to have to just deal with the fact that he's a lawyer, but he's a dog sometimes, is the weirdest version of that premise.
What if there was a different movie about a dog who accidentally turns into a lawyer sometimes? So he looks at himself and he's fucking Tim Allen. He's like, oh, well, that's all the voiceovers. And he goes into work and he doesn't understand how law works.
Give weredog Tim Allen like 5 years. I think that's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Or is he really more man or dog?
I was saying this to Claude. I always, for some reason, get Tim Allen mixed up in my head with Dennis Quaid. So what if we got a Dennis Quaid in my head, a better looking Tim Allen, to be the dog lawyer, and we'll call it Lawyer Man. Instead of Shaggy Dog.
You are a screenwriter.
Yeah. The Lawyer Man. Or the Lawyer Man.
But this would be a good TV show, the idea of he's trying to live his normal life, but also he turns into a dog sometimes and has to deal with dog problems.
If the tone was done right.
I don't think the inherent premise with Shaggy Dog is poor.
Michelle, I'm sorry, we're just skating over the Lawyer Man here. This is prime stuff that we could be working on together right now.
I didn't like your pitch.
Let me try again.
Okay.
2-minute pitch. Brooklyn, 1973.
Okay. I'm in.
A young mutt gets bitten by a man, and he wakes up a lawyer. He's got a wife. He's got 3 kids.
Oh, whoa. Where do the wife and kids come from?
What?
If he wasn't a lawyer until after he gets bit, where do the wife and kids come from?
He hasn't got a wife.
If they are spirits, for example, summoned by the power of Lawyer Man... You're throwing in a lot of existential questions about what is real. What does it mean to be a real person?
It's so true. He has to, when he turns into a lawyer man, he is fathomed out of that being. So he can't have had a life before he's a lawyer.
Do they have memories of before that moment? Like, if they have full life memories, who are you to tell them that they're not real?
Scrap the family.
No. I'm really interested in this movie.
We're focusing on the wrong bit.
No, I'm really
into
this.
Man.
I love this premise.
You go fucking make your own film, all right? About this spirit family.
Yeah, okay.
Summoned out of a lawyer
guy
dog.
turns into a man and he suddenly has people around him. He knows that he used to be a dog, but what did they used to be? They came from nothing. And again, once you realize they are nothing, they're just a manifestation of my powers.
Where's
Do you
the plot,
tell them?
Michelle?
Do you tell them?
So yours is like this dark ruminative piece about like what is and isn't real, and mine is like a really schlocky action comedy.
I want Charlie Kaufman to write mine.
Yeah. And I want the fucking 5 dickheads that wrote this film to write mine.
Oh, you know what we fucking skated over in this movie?
What?
That I think we mentioned in the outline. So we said the original dog is 300 years old, and some scientists go, we can use the fact that he has outlived a normal dog lifespan to figure out how to create the elixir of life and grant immortality to humans. Hey, 5 dickheads who wrote this, you totally casually dropped and never gave any weight to the fact that these scientists are fucking on the cusp of inventing literal immortality.
Yeah. And that's not the priority?
That's the C story. Like, that's so unprioritized.
I mean, knowing how convoluted this film is, that's like the F story.
Also,
really.
like, Robert Downey Jr. does sinister things, and the idea of patenting immortality is inherently immoral, right? In the same way that patenting insulin would be. Is. Oh, wait. But, like, it's wild that Tim Allen makes the call of we have to stop them. Like, Tim Allen's making a huge call for all people to stop the creation of immortality.
I'm gonna say his objectives in this film, selfish. It's not about him being a dog. It's about the human race and how far we can evolve.
It's not like it's, I'm trying to get the mystical power of some god in an Indiana Jones style thing, and it's like, we're messing with forces we shouldn't, or whatever. It's like, the dog can still live. It's not even like we have to kill the dog. Like, they're doing it.
Yeah. Yeah, why didn't we get a resolution on that incredible science they had unlocked through the dog that they kept as a pet at the end of the film? Did they just have Ki-Yang-Po just hanging around and they didn't do anything with the magical elixir that they can get out of his blood?
Tim Allen turns into Ki-Yang-Po. Is he now immortal?
Yeah.
Is Tim Allen going to watch his family die and continue to live with the Shaggy dog?
At the end, he has
all people immortal now?
At the end, he has like Arwen-esque images of everyone dying around him and him wandering through Mordor, through Middle Earth alone.
Is holding Ki-Yang-Po. I would rather live one life with you than 1,000 lifetimes alone, or whatever Arwen says. Please, take my dog. Thank you.
Do you want to hear some trivia?
Oh, we're already up to trivia?
Yeah, baby.
I feel like, well, we just before trivia, the dog surfs at the end.
The dog surfs at the end.
And also, it, like, on the one hand, that's incredibly stupid and just like such an idiotic thing, but also surfing dog movie. Why throw in the most interesting part of your movie
right at the end? I really enjoyed the surfing dog moment because it's the epilogue. He's won. The court case is over. Robert Downey Jr. goes to jail. The company goes back to Strickland. He makes amends with his family. They go to the beach for a holiday.
Yeah.
He kisses his wife and tells her he loves her. His kids are really happy and they feel like their dad is really in their life and paying attention to them. And then they all stare out to the ocean. And I got really baffled by this because I was watching it being like, what is that weird hovering dot that looks like someone had just planted on the screen? What is that moving in the surf? And it was the dog on a surfboard.
Standing upright.
Moving incredibly jitterily.
Guys, when we say surfing, I don't mean on all fours on the surfboard. I mean standing upright.
He like brushes his paw through the wave behind him and he's like grinning at the screen. And then he like launches into the ocean.
Does Tim Allen still have the other mutants? There was a frog dog, a dog with the face of a pit bull.
They all went into protective custody.
There was the snake dog.
The snake dog was... I liked the snake dog. I thought his like little feathery tail was really something else.
We've only talked about like 30% of this movie.
We can't cover everything.
But I feel like we have a moral obligation.
The mutant animals were really something else. My personal favorite was the snake with the dog tail at the end.
Snake with the dog tail was great.
Yeah.
And also quite terrifying.
Yeah. Also, I will say, when Robert Downey Jr. in the courtroom starts transforming into a dog,
yes,
the first thing that shoots out of him is a tail that whacks a guy in the face. And I was like, what furry porn is this?
Someone discovered they were a furry.
Yeah, 100%.
Oh, there's also the point when Tim Allen turns into a dog intentionally. He's like, I need to be a dog right now. I can't even remember why. He's like, I need to be a dog.
He had to get faster. He had to run faster.
Yeah, of course.
So he needed more speed. Yeah.
So one time he wants to do that, he gets a random guy in the street. He's like, can you throw this? And then brings it back to him in his mouth. And is like, can you throw it again? It's basically like forcing this guy to play fetch with him.
$5, you know?
Yeah. And then later he does it by just starting to run like a dog on all fours.
He needs adrenaline. So I get, it worked.
Yeah, that doesn't stop the fact that it's unhinged. Oh, and then there's him at the end where he's the dog and Charlotte from Sex and the City realizes that this is her husband and is staring into his eyes, and my girlfriend... It
looks like they're about to kiss.
Yeah, my girlfriend and I were like, are they going to kiss? Is she like fully into this dog? Because that's too far.
And then the camera swivels around them and it turns into Tim Allen. He's a man again, very quickly in front of her. But he needs to sleep to become a man again. So what about being in love?
With the power of love. He wasn't in love until now, as we discovered in the first act.
I can't deal with this movie. I can't. Also, I have to bring up as well, just something else. The poster of the Shaggy dog.
We're never ending this episode.
Is actually the photo of the dog with Tim Allen's eyes. And it's the most haunting thing I'd ever seen. I looked it up and I was like, oh, what is that?
It's chilling.
He doesn't have Tim Allen's eyes in the movie. He looks like a normal dog, but for the poster, they're like, this will be a great idea.
I'm pretty sure there's a variant where he has human teeth as well.
Oh, it's so fucked. This film is not for the faint-hearted.
It's absolutely terrifying in every way.
Absolutely awful.
This is Lovecraftian, this movie.
There's definitely an element of the island of Dr. Moreau going on here.
This is an eldritch, ancient horror that they have awakened and summoned forth with ancient immortal life.
Just imagine being that homeless man and a guy runs up to you and is like, can you throw the stick? And then you watch him scurry after it like a dog, pick it up and be like, can you throw it again? You'd be like, what fetish am I taking part in
I would say, begone, witch. Your foul magics are not welcome here. You have awakened something deep and dark. Yeah.
I have actually seen you do that to a lot of people in public, so it does check out.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah,
don't do it again. Don't. I can see your angling.
I actually started to do it more when COVID started.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I was like, that'll really get them away.
For sure. Very smart of you.
I know I'm clean.
You've spat on me like 5 times today?
Yeah.
Actually less than usual.
3 were intentional, 2 were just because I like to really get my mouth real wet before I talk.
Yeah.
All right, now I've got like lots of saliva in here, so I'll just go spilling out of my mouth.
Spilling out of my mouth like molasses. Do you want to hear some trivia?
I would love to hear some trivia.
IMDb trivia.
Well, you're going to be disappointed, Michelle, because I don't have much for you.
How does this movie not have the most trivia?
It had 5 items, 4 of which were boring.
Oh.
But one item of trivia is that although Shaggy is referred to as a sheepdog, the dog who played Shaggy is a bearded collie, a herding breed known for their intelligence, energy, enthusiasm, and ability to jump. I looked up how much these dogs cost, and they're like $1,000 to $2,000, and
my God.
that's a lot. But I want one because they're fucking cute.
Yeah.
Aren't they like? Isn't this the kind of dog that was on the Dulux paint ads? Is that the same kind of breed of dog? Do you remember those ads where it had the big grey and white dog?
I remember that there is a dog
nothing
in the Dulux.
All right, listeners,
ads.
Back me up. Which kind of dog is in the Dulux paint ads? Because I 100% bet you it's a bearded collie.
Whereas I think it was the Staffy.
So who do you side with? Tell us now.
Dun, 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 dun.
We're waiting.
Dun, 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 dun,
We're
dun.
waiting.
It was actually a blue heeler.
Ah. That was it.
Oh, okay. It was like a celebrity dog.
It's a celebrity. It's not even a celebrity dog. It's just a good dog.
I mean, it's a dog working in LA. It's probably a famous dog.
This is true. This is true.
It's a show dog, baby.
But that was it. Everything else was really, really boring about this film. I think production went very smoothly, and there's nothing to report on.
Well, you know what? If I worked on this, I too would try and forget it. I would forget the things I have seen, the things I have done in service.
100%. You got to erase it from your memory. Tim Allen's actually on IMDb removing any hateful slander against this movie. He's like, no, it was perfect. We really nailed it. We hit it out of the ballpark, guys. Do you want to hear some reviews?
Reviews!
On Rotten Tomatoes, the film has a rating of 26%, which is pretty high. I mean, it's not great, but it's higher than other ones that we've encountered.
It's higher than some of them.
We've had ones that have been like 7%. So the site's critical consensus reads, this Disney retread has neither inspiration nor originality, but may please moviegoers under the age of 10. Here's a review left from Richard Roper, our fave guy from Ebert and Roper.
Eber's better.
Ebert is better. But
Roper's smug.
Yeah.
You know?
I'm an Ebeber. I'm an Ebever. I'm an E-believer.
Richard Roper definitely looks down on people who he sees as uneducated, you know? That's the vibe I get from him.
Same with Ebert, though. Both snobs.
Yeah, but I feel like Ebert, at least, like, if there's a crowd pleaser, he's like, yeah, people will like this.
Who do you side with, guys? Roper or Ebert?
Also, feel free to correct me on both of those opinions.
This was left by Richard Roper. He said, we've seen it a million times. Full stop.
It's the only remake, Roper. We've seen it twice. Just because you watched the original.
Jeannie Punter from Globe and Mail said, the unruly pack of subplots makes the Shaggy dog much more convoluted than it needs to be.
Yes,
agreed.
That's it.
100% agreed.
Why bring immortality into your dog transformation movie?
For no reason.
Why bring setting up an environmentalist for arson in your dog transformation movie? Why bring up that the husband doesn't love his wife in your dog transformation movie?
And then we've also got the kids' arcs and journeys on top
Oh
of that
my
as
God.
like D&E stories. It's fucking wild. Here's the review I found on IMDb. It is 10 out of 10, and it was left by Pumpkin Man in 2009. The title of it is Awesome Family Fun! 2 exclamation points. This is an awesome movie. In my opinion, it's funnier and better than the original. Tim Allen does an awesome job at being a dog. It kind of reminds me of Freaky Friday. When a 300-year-old dog bites a deputy district attorney named Dave Douglas, Dave is turned into a dog. His family thinks he's busy with work. When he turns into a dog, he finally sees what their lives like when his kids are at school or thinking about getting a tattoo. When he turns back human, his wife doesn't believe his story and tries to prove that Dr. Kozak is testing on animals. It's just a recount.
It's just a recap, okay.
If you love comedy, Tim Allen, and dogs, you'll love the Shaggy Dog. 10 out of 10. And I'm glad he said that because I do.
Yeah.
I love comedy, love Tim Allen because he supports the troops.
Yeah.
And I love dogs. 10 out of 10.
I choose to believe that because of the username that was left by Jack Skellington, and it's the second movie he's watched.
Pumpkin Man. Every review on IMDb was just parents being like, good family fun. I loved it. It didn't have curse words.
Good, clean family fun. Not a gay person in sight. Which is usually what that used to fucking mean.
Beautiful white family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It used to mean no gay people at all, and then you get people now going like, pride is too sexual, and I'm like, this is just 90s conservative Christians repackaged as progressivism.
Whisper it lower for the back.
You're not being inclusive. You're being just as shitty.
Who's this character?
Stop
What do we call
trying
her?
to primarily go for family values. It's a dog whistle for bullshit. Families can include a lot more than you think. Expand your capacities of what is acceptable to children. They're fine.
So that was the Shaggy Dog. What rating would you give it, Michelle?
Look, on the one hand, I want to punish the fuck out of this movie hard because it was so insane. On the other hand, I also know it is made for kids. On yet another hand, I also know if I was a kid, like kids are still discerning. They can recognize when it's bad.
Yeah.
I think the distinction is that kids can recognize when it's bad, but sometimes they'll watch it anyway.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I feel like listeners, you understand what I mean. Like kids know when something's shit, but sometimes it can be like meh, and they'll be like, this is fucking fantastic. Cats and Dogs is a prime example of that. I think.
You know that you're watching a shitty film,
Yeah.
but it's still fun.
The movie's not great, and I feel like you're not like, this movie's incredible, but you're like, oh, I love that movie.
Yeah.
I feel like as a kid, I would know that this movie is shit, but it's like got enough insanity in it that I wouldn't, like my sister would watch movies on repeat, and I wouldn't want to blow my brains out if she watched this on repeat. You know?
Yeah.
Unlike some of the movies.
Is that the new bar
That's
that you're rating this by?
Yeah. We've had to somewhat change our standards on this list. We've discussed that. So I don't know. I think I got to give it like a 3.2 and maybe even higher, maybe a 3.4. You know, I
know what you mean.
Yeah.
I agree. I think that the production value in this was quite good. Like,
Yeah.
it looked like a good movie. And, like, the CGI wasn't terrible.
No.
After seeing The Little Man.
It wasn't shot like for a family-oriented 2000s Disney movie, it's fine.
It's not bad.
Yeah.
The performances were wacky and terrible.
Yeah, really
the
bad.
plot was absolute nonsense. But I found myself very much able to watch it and not scream into a pillow and want to kill myself.
Super watchable.
Super watchable. And, like, it kept my attention for most of it. I didn't feel like I had to stop and start it 5 times just to get through the film, which has happened in the past with others. So for that, I'm going to give this a solid 3.5 out of 10.
Yeah,
Very close.
I wouldn't show it to my children, but
Yeah.
children can watch it.
Well, that was the Shaggy Dog, guys. Don't you fucking forget to follow us on social media. Okay? We're on Twitter under Rate Descend Pod, and we've got a TikTok called Rating Descending.
Hell yeah.
Or you can email us at ratingdescending@gmail.com.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you wanted, you could find us on our own social medias. Like, I'm on Twitter and Instagram at Michelle.St. Clair.
And I'm on Insta under your mom's pussy. It's Abigail J. Ward.
Or, like, you could leave us a sick review. I mean, we've dramatically increased our audience over the last month. So it'd be, if you enjoyed it, please leave a review. If you
Drop
didn't
us a
enjoy
review.
it, if you didn't enjoy it, tell nobody.
Give it to us.
don't tell anyone. Just
Keep it a secret.
Just move on.
Yeah, just forget about it.
If you listen and you're
Don't
like,
worry.
that's not
you
my
don't
thing.
like it? It's fine.
Just,
I
like,
actually don't like it either.
continue
so
on
it's fine.
with your day.
No, I didn't like it either. I didn't even mean to show it to you. It's fine. It's fine. What are we watching next week, Michelle?
Next week we're watching Zoom, and guess what?
All right.
If I'm not mistaken, it also stars Tim Allen.
No. Hang on, let me get a really good movie no for the end of it.
Yeah, sure.